I therefore have begun the process of issuing the queries to the relevant directors, to the tender committee, and to the internal audit office.
Gladys Sholay maintains her stand on graft allegations in the judiciary. Vihiga's bizarre murder, family of 5 killed in overnight inferno.
A hospital is a hospital. So the best place for them is in a home.
Kenyatta Hospital's burden. Just where are these children's parents?
KTN Weekend Prime with Anne Kiguta.
Welcome to the program. Thank you so much for making time for us this evening. Joining us this evening for Checkpoint, Professor Edward Kisiangani, who is to my extreme right, Professor Gitile Naituli to my immediate right, Moses Kuria, I can already see him. He is in studio, will be joining us. And of course, the Nairobi Deputy Governor, Jonathan Mweke, as we discuss this city, this county, and of course, the leadership crisis that it faces. That and more is coming up in the bulletin. But first, let's take a look at our top stories tonight. Now, it's another blow for ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda, as an additional 4 prosecution witnesses are reported to have withdrawn from the case against Deputy President William Ruto and radio presenter Joshua Sang. Now, this comes just 2 days before Bensouda's first witness testifies against the duo. KTN's Asham Wilu now takes an in-depth look at this latest development in the case against Ruto and Sang.
Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
The trial proceedings against Deputy President William Ruto will resume Tuesday at the International Criminal Court. The first of some 40 witnesses lined up by the prosecutor will take the stand. But according to fresh reports, the prosecution may have suffered yet another blow just 2 days before the proceedings. 4 witnesses have reportedly pulled out of the ICC process, claiming to have withdrawn officially via emails to the office of the prosecutor. Reports that the ICC coordinator in the country would not confirm.
The court's position has not changed in terms of keeping very private the information that has to do with witnesses or otherwise. Members of the public should not be conclusive that it's the end of the case or the case is falling apart.
Maria Kamara's statement echoes those of the chief prosecutor during the opening statements in the case against Ruto and Sang. The office of the prosecution has repeatedly raised the alarm over alleged witness intimidation and bribery, a crime that attracts a jail term of up to 5 years and an undisclosed fine. In tandem, the court has tightened its witness protection strategies.
These protective measures may range from closed sessions during the hearings in order to keep confidential the identity of the person, to, as an extreme measure, a relocation of the witness to another country.
It is also possible that their voices might be distorted, their faces too, sometimes for children, minors who are given testimony, or even women, in order not to further re-traumatize them as a result of the account they are narrating to the judges. They can testify, they call it via remote control, in a different room, in order not to be able to sit face to face, to have the direct eye contact with the accused persons.
These protection mechanisms, however, are not blanket and will not apply to all witnesses who appear before the court. The Special Court for Sierra Leone allowed the public to know the identity of some of the witnesses in the case against Charles Taylor. In the ongoing case against Central African Republic's Jean-Pierre Bemba, the identities of most of the witnesses have not been revealed. The court, however, also plays a balancing act to ensure the accused is granted a fair trial.
They are in the courtroom, I said, they are away from the public view, but within the courtroom, however, the lawyers for the accused persons will see them. The accused persons themselves who are present in the courtroom will see them.
With the Ruto-Sang trial only 2 days away, a reserved William Ruto spent the day in church before his flight scheduled for Monday.
And as I go to The Hague tomorrow, the Bible is telling me, tomorrow, in verse 16, tomorrow, march down against them.
So far, about 33 witnesses are reported to have withdrawn from the Ruto and Sang trial. The latest are said to be survivors of the Kiambaa fire and are said to have pulled out due to the prevailing peace in the country. As the ICC witness saga deepens, Kenyans will have to wait until Tuesday to know which card the prosecution will play as her first witness takes the stand. Asham Wilu, KTN Weekend Prime.
And of course, as you've heard, just 2 days until the first witness takes the stand. Our Rita Tanina has been camping at the precincts of the International Criminal Court at The Hague and joins us now with more. Rita.
A very good evening to you. And just a day before the resumption of the trial against Deputy President William Ruto and his co-accused Joshua Arap Sang at the International Criminal Court, Sang, who failed to travel back home following the adjournment of the trial against him, was today seeking divine intervention. Sang attended a Sunday service at the Philadelphia Church here in The Hague. At the Faith Ministries Philadelphia Church in The Hague, Kenyans living in The Hague are gathered for their Sunday service, just as they do every other Sunday. But this is not their usual Sunday worship session. Joining the faithful for their service is a new and an unusual congregant. Joshua Arap Sang, who is facing crimes against humanity charges at the International Criminal Court. Sang, who could not raise the airfare to travel back home after the trial against him and Deputy President William Ruto was adjourned on Wednesday, spent his weekend at The Hague. A Christian and self-proclaimed praise and worship leader, Sang attended what may well be the first of many Sunday prayers at The Hague. He was seeking divine intervention ahead of the resumption of the trial against him on Tuesday. Church leaders here offered special prayers for Sang, his co-accused Deputy President William Ruto, as well as President Uhuru Kenyatta, whose trial at the ICC is set to kick off on the 12th of November.
It's not easy kuletwa nchi ya mbali namna hii, baridi yote, anga inabadilika kila dakika.
Sang told the faithful to offer prayers for the accused as well as witnesses as the search for the truth gets underway. He also requested for special prayers for his children. During opening statements by legal teams on Wednesday last week, Sang made an impassioned plea to trial chamber number 5A to drop the charges against him, saying the court has the wrong men. We are, of course, keeping it here in The Hague as we count down to the resumption of the trial on Tuesday. From The Hague, I am Rita Tanina. Back to you in studio in Nairobi.
Thank you, Rita. To other news now. The Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Gladys Boss-Shelley, says she will defend her integrity in the face of fresh accusations reportedly made by the Judicial Service Commission. Shelley says no charges have been preferred against her. She says the JSC has simply sent her questions to which she will respond. KTN's Ben Kitili has the latest in this unfolding judicial saga.
The jury is still out on the direction of the impasse pitting Chief Registrar of the Judiciary Gladys Boss-Shelley and the Judicial Service Commission. Shelley has responded to reports in sections of the media that the JSC had served her with a letter containing charges against her. Shelley insists she has not been charged.
These are questions, not charges. I mutually agreed with the Judicial Service Commission that they officially need to give me questions to answer, including those that were put in the public domain, in order that I may clear my name and also put the matter to rest.
Two committees of the Judicial Service Commission are the genesis of the allegations spelled out in a letter from Chief Justice Willie Mutunga to Shelley. The letter points to alleged failure by Shelley to utilize public funds well, leading to misuse of approximately 1.2 billion shillings. Allegations, she says, touch on other offices in the judiciary.
I therefore have begun the process of issuing the queries to the relevant directors, to the tender committee, and to the internal audit office. I have also invited the relevant government institutions who by law have oversight on financial management and procurement in the judiciary.
The allegations first hit Sholay on August 19th when the GSC sent her on compulsory leave. However, a few days later, she was given the nod to resume her duties following what was termed as a confidential agreement between herself and the GSC, a deal that has continued to raise questions, consequently soiling the image of a much reformed judiciary.
I shall not allow these to be processed through the media because they are laid down procedures and that have already been initiated.
Sholay has also been hit with claims of taking a huge salary advance, favoritism, irregular awarding of tenders, as well as insubordination. Sholay has 21 days to respond to these damaging accusations in a confusing battle that could leave the judiciary in even murkier waters. Ben Kiteli, KTN.
Interesting developments. We'll continue to watch that story for you. Now to a bizarre story, and a man is alleged to have set his house on fire, killing five of the members of his family, I beg your pardon. Now the man is said to have burnt the house after a quarrel with his wife. Both the man, his wife, along with their 3 children perished in that inferno.
Residents of Vindizi village in Vihiga County woke up to a bizarre incident. The family of a man they knew too well was not part of them anymore. After a family of 5 perished when fire gutted down their house at around 2 a.m. Sunday. All that remains now is this charred shell of what was their house. The 35-year-old man of the house is said to have set the house on fire, taking his own life as well as those of his wife and 3 of his children, 2 girls aged 7 and a boy aged 6, all burnt beyond recognition. Only 1 child escaped. The man's brother said the culprit worked in Kakamega and had only come home Saturday evening to visit his family. Neighbors say the deceased had constant domestic wrangles with his wife.
Ndugu yangu alikuja jana jioni saa 1:30 hivi. Baadaye mwenye kumleta na pikipiki alisema alienda kununua mafuta na akarudi. Ndiye alimwagilia nyumba mafuta, akajifungia ndani na watoto na pamoja na bibi yake.
Tulipokuja ikawa tu watu ni kushughulika kumwaga maji kwa nyumba. Moto kazima.
Police who arrived at the scene early Sunday morning could not establish the cause of the fire, but believe the petrol said to have been bought by the man was used to set the house on fire. Angel Katusia, KTN.
There are at least 40 people living at the Kenyatta National Hospital. Now, these are not necessarily patients seeking treatment, but people who have been abandoned at the hospital by their families. And as Betty Kialo now reports, a good number of these hospital residents are children.
They lay on these hospital beds, innocent and oblivious of the world around them. A cruel world that saw the people who gave them life abandon them to fate. Meet Brashel Ingosi. He is 6 years old and was abandoned by his mother right after birth in 2007. That means he has known Kenyatta National Hospital as home for 6 years and counting.
He was admitted because he has a condition medically known as hydrocephalus. That is a condition where the head enlarges after birth. Weeks after admission, the mother disappeared from the ward, but attempts to trace the mother has not been successful. She also did mention that in their culture, she's from Western Kenya, having an abnormal child is a curse, or a child with a medical condition such as this one of Brashel.
We encounter many such cases, and it poses a challenge to us because of the condition. Not many homes are willing to accommodate the children because it's very expensive taking care of them.
Sleeping right opposite him is a baby girl. Her name, Tatiana Mudhoni. She, just like Rachel, was brought in by her mother, who later sneaked out of hospital, leaving her on her own. Tatiana also suffers from hydrocephalus. We did contact the parents and guardians who left their details with the hospital when the children were being admitted. However, they all refuted claims that they had abandoned their children. A number were unavailable for comment.
The number you have dialed is temporarily out of service.
And it's just not the children. A number of adults too have been abandoned by their families. They basically reside in the hospital even after their hospital fees were waived. In fact, in July alone, Kenyatta National Hospital waived a total of 5 million shillings, which was the cost of caring for the abandoned children and adults. According to hospital officials, taking care of the abandoned children and adults is not only expensive for the hospital, but also detrimental to other needy patients who may be turned away because of lack of facilities like beds. However, with no other better alternative, the hospital is the only place that they can call home for now and probably forever. Betty Kialo, KTN.
She is a woman with a difference. Magdalene Kesumo Manyei has 2 wives. Indeed, Magdalene is a husband to them. And KTN's Messi Kandia now brings us the story of an age-old Nandi cultural practice through a woman who says hers has been a happy 30 years of woman-to-woman marriage.
Do not be fooled by her slow and frail strides. In the village, she walks in the capacity of a man. Gogo, as they call her, which is in Kalenjin to mean grandmother, is married to 2 women, a Nandi cultural practice that allows a barren woman to marry another woman.
Daughter wa hii familia, huyu akiwa mama na huyu ni gogo. Kwetu tunamuita gogo, hatumuiti baba, ngawaje kama tungesema ni baba.
One of the main reasons for female-to-female marriages among the Nandi community is to give the barren woman a chance to get children, a process referred to as kilalmat, the willingness to procreate. Gogo Magdalene was married to the son of Koitalel Arap Samoe, the renowned Nandi leader who fought the colonialist. But aside from that, she had no other pride, so she used the opportunity provided by the cultural practice. Gogo married not 1 but 2 wives, getting 12 children and 20 grandchildren.
Nakubarikiwa kupata watoto. Na kwa culture ya Wanandi, ukikuwa umekoza watoto at least mpaka watakupea tu, wanasema tu wanakuashia moto. Yani njewe yako ni kukuwezesha uwe na watoto.
No sexual relation is allowed. The woman that Gogo marries gets a male suitor with whom they bear children, but the children belong to Gogo Magdalene. Gogo is the sole provider for the new family.
Maisha yetu ilikuwa mzuri, tulilelewa maisha mzuri ya heshima. Tulilishwa vizuri, tulisomeshwa.
The 95-year-old holds firmly the position of a man. The process allows her to attend initiation ceremonies that are exclusive to men. Attend baraza while being regarded as a man. At home, both wives live in harmony.
Naona most of the families yenye wako na baba, unapata wengine wako na mafarukano nini pigana nini kesi ya saa yote, lakini kwetu zilikuwa ni kama mama na msichana wake kuishi kwa boma.
Sasa umeoa watu 2 na sisi tu umekaa mzuri, hakuna sita yoyote.
The wives are expected to take good care of Gogo as she ages. Her sense of humor is clear. She believes it's a cultural practice that should have continuity with the current generation.
Sitakubwa bure. Hakuna mtoto, lakini watoto wangu sasa iko wanaume, iko ndito.
The cultural practice also allows the husband of the barren woman to marry another woman. Barren Kalenjin women were not divorced, but were instead allowed to marry after undergoing some rituals and after attaining menopause, and thereafter not allowed to sleep with any man, including her husband.
Hello?
Masikandie, KTN, Uasin Gishu County.
Mercy, thank you for that. KTN Weekend is about to take a short break, and as you can see, we're already having a full house. Nairobi Deputy Governor, second to my immediate right, Jonathan Mweke, has joined us, and of course, Moses Kuria to my immediate right, alongside Professor Edward Kisiangani in the black, and to my far right, Professor Naituli. We're going to be discussing the leadership of the city in a short while. This and more lined up for you. Don't go too far. Still in this bulletin, Baringo's bizarre floods.
So once they are in the courtroom, I said they are away from the public view, but within the courtroom, however, the lawyers for the accused persons will see them. The accused persons themselves who are present in the courtroom would see them.
You are watching KTN Weekend Prime.
Thank you for staying with KTN Weekend. A recap of our top story tonight. Reports from the International Criminal Court indicate that an additional 4 prosecution witnesses have withdrawn from the case against Deputy President William Ruto and radio presenter Joshua Sang. This comes just 2 days before the first witness testifies against the duo. The ICC Country Outreach Coordinator Maria Kamara has, however, failed to confirm the withdrawal, saying the ICC will not discuss the status of the witnesses with the public. The Office of the Prosecution has, however, repeatedly raised alarm over alleged witness intimidation and bribery, a crime that attracts a jail term of up to 5 years and an undisclosed fine. Let's move on to other stories today. And residents of Loruk village in Baringo County have been forced to flee their homes as water levels in Lake Baringo rise to alarming levels. The residents claim the floods are mysterious as there has not been any rain in the area recently.
Residents of Loruk village say they have had to cope with this situation for over a month now. They say this latest wave of floods is a mysterious phenomenon to them, as it has not rained here for weeks. With water levels rising each day, many have been forced to flee to higher grounds, leaving their livelihoods and everything they own behind.
Manyumba ya watu kuisha huko yote. Hii yetu tu hii ya Bulletin ndio napaka. Ile manyumba ya reserve kuisha.
The floods have brought them very many unusual visitors, including crocodiles, which they say are a constant threat to their lives and livestock. The crocodiles have found a hiding place under these weeds floating on the lake and are blamed for the disappearance of goats in this village.
Hiyo mnyama hiyo hakuna watu, hiyo yuko hakuna usalama hata kutembea. Kufika tu saa moja watu hatimii. Sababu hiyo ametembea sasa imekuwa wengi kuliko wakati lingine.
Mamba na chava hata mtoto hawezi kanyaka. Sisi mwanaume naoga au kuchota maji yako kando. Ngamana naweza kamata wewe mguu na vuruta wewe.
The villagers, however, recall that the lake has overflowed in the past. However, they say the level of water was not as high as it is this time.
2:30. Sasa kakuja sasa kwa nguvu. Akahamisha watu kutoka hii manyumba 10 tuko hapa. Na hiyo watu ilihama manyumba kakapaki. Sababu ni kitu ya haraka.
Their appeal for help from authorities has not been answered, with most of them now seeking shelter from neighboring villages. Kamchemenza, KTN from Nakuru County.
Well, it is the biggest brewery in East and Central Africa, but it is increasingly under pressure from new players in the market. The East Africa Breweries has experienced mixed performance in the recent past, with revenues and overall sales slowing down. Now, is this an indication that the beer market has reached saturation, or is there still room for other players? KTN's Michael Karanja reports.
Kenyans from all walks of life have over the years enjoyed a pint of beer. This can be dated back to 1922, when Kenya Breweries first brewed its flagship beer, Tusker. Since then, the company has enjoyed overwhelming success, controlling over 90% of the formal alcoholic beverage market. But even with a competitive advantage, EABL has found the going tough over the last year, posting a 38% dip in profits and sales growing by 6% to 59 billion shillings.
And I look across the whole of EABL with great enthusiasm about the potential for the business. But the last 12 months were a little bit tough. I think that our destiny is in our control. I think we can shape the future performance of EABL.
The challenge for EABL is that a number of local and international brewers are competing for consumers and have upped their game. Locally, Kroche, the young upstart, has come into the market launching Summit and Summit malt beers. SAB Miller from South Africa has been locked in a spirited battle with EABL over the last 2 decades and has finally gotten a local distribution channel through Crown Beverages to market its products. But perhaps the biggest challenge, according to analysts, is the arrival of Dutch beer maker Heineken that has got the hots for the premium end of the market, and EABL is already feeling the heat.
I mean, any industry is difficult, yes? I mean, obviously now we have started distributing our beer into the market, so you have to compete with various other brands, international brands, other local brands. But I always feel competition is healthy. It's healthy for the market, it's healthy for the consumer, and it always makes you to strive better.
As CEO of EABL, one of my agenda items is to make sure that Tusker becomes much more global as a brand than it is at the moment.
Regulations for the consumption of beer with the famous Mutudo law has affected the demand side of the beer business. But with the competition slowly moving towards the premium end, brewers are continuously looking to outdo one another. Microbrewer Brew Bistro set up in the market 4 years ago and is slowly capturing the discerning consumers. EABL has taken note of this and is looking to spend more on marketing its premium beer Tusker Malt and its reserve range of whiskies.
As we see the emergence of middle class, an emerging middle class population of more scale than there was before. Those consumers in those segments will drink more wines, more spirits. They'll drink more kind of international brands. And EABL, as a big player in the market, needs to make sure that its portfolio has got brands which consumers in those kind of demographic sets or in those segments would kind of turn to.
Beer marketing wars are not new to the country, and what's certain is that they're not about to end. Michael Karanja, KTN.